We start laughing. You laugh.
Y'all catch us laughing every time we come on here, and now we got help laughing. Hello, family. Again, welcome to Marriage Talk with Mario and Renee, and we have some special guests this evening.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up?
These are some great friends of ours. We love them dearly. They were actually in our the first I Promise group.
The first
Oh
one.
man, y'all came through initial group. This is Andre and Christina. I hope you saw our caption, which was getting financially naked with your spouse. And I want to do them justice as far as giving them the proper intro. Again, they are great friends of ours. We love them dearly. They are a powerful man and woman of God. They have a testimony that we're going to have them share one day. Today's not the day, but one day with us on how to we do.
Yeah.
But
There we go.
Technology specialist.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
It was
'Cause-
all good.
Huh? No, but if we frozen, then we not impacting
She's gonna finish.
anybody.
She's gonna finish up her technical portion, and then she's gonna give us some information very quickly.
All right. So we know we always go through this. I have to share. Did y'all share to y'all page? What y'all doing back there?
Oh, I don't have my.
Oh.
I left my.
I got my phone.
They like prepared for.
We're so new to this. We're new to this.
All right. So I'll go ahead and share from Mario's page, and then we'll go ahead and. All right. So as Mario mentioned, we have Andre and Christina with us. Andre and Christina have been married a little over a year now. They dated for several years before tying the knot. They had different spending habits and career goals. Most recently, they have really started to focus on their financial future and operate as co-pilots on this journey to financial stability. With the holiday season upon us, we thought it was going to be important to talk about money because we know the holidays can put a dent on your accounts and unfortunately too often in your relationship.
Yeah.
Some of us in a relationship being able to talk about everything under the sun except money.
Mm.
Do you remember the first time you and your partner talked about money? Telling each other how much you made, sharing your credit reports, and talking about having money or not having money means to you, or what it means to you. Psychologists say that many people will talk about anything, even sex, before they talk about their finances.
Wow. Wow.
With that being said, we're going to turn it over to Andre and Christina.
All right.
Hello. So I'm Christina.
I'm Andre.
And first of all, we do want to say that we are not financial advisors. We are just basically living examples of some things to do and not to do. As you prepare, if you're engaged, if you're in a serious relationship and contemplating engagement, and of course if you're married. So Dre and I, we dated for 8 years before we tied the knot. We got married last year, so we've been married over a little over a year. But during our time of dating, we had like what I would call foggy transparency in talking about money, because while we felt like we were being transparent, there was still kind of that little squeezing of the eye, trying to rub that fog out of the way to really clearly understand. We had a lot of talks about who was going to cover which expenses and things like that, but we just didn't really dive into the our financial stability at that time, or our current financial situation. I wouldn't call it stability, our instability, if anything, but our financial situation, talking about credit reports, even knowing really how much we made. I mean, we didn't say, we kind of give each other approximations here and there, but we just didn't really dive into that type of discussion.
We were functioning solo but together, so to speak. We
Very much.
I kind of had my money, she had hers. We got a little bit in the middle and had some discussion on, well, this is what needs to be paid, but it wasn't solidified. So.
And I'll add, and I mean, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but as a woman who built her independence through my career and then just through, I guess, my own ways of spending and being able to make money and be resourceful, it was kind of hard for me to come into a sharing point at that point. Or even, we'll talk about the transition that we had to kind of go through a little bit. But I want to say, when Dre and I, when we started dating, I quickly kind of viewed that we looked at money a little different. Dre is an artist, and, we've all heard the coin term broke artist or whatever.
Starving artist.
Starving artist, broke artist, things like that. But I knew that wasn't a goal for Dre. I mean, I knew he didn't want his artistry to lead him to that type of low status of not having any money. But I felt like he would be okay kind of in being a minimalist of a type of artist, living that kind of artistic lifestyle where as long as he can express himself through art, be able to pay his bills and things like that, I felt like he really didn't need much. I'm just expressing my feelings on it.
So, and to that point, interesting scenario. So when I first moved here, I didn't necessarily have a job lined up. So I moved here and had to find work while I was here. And it was a situation to where, I had to kind of take what I could get until, I could kind of move my career in the design industry, upwards. So there was that piece too.
Mm-hmm. And so, he has more of an entrepreneurial spirit, and with his art and everything that he does. Whereas me, I'm kind of more. I need to know where my money's coming from, and I need to know when it's going to hit, and all of that. So I find comfort in that, and that comes from probably some childhood experiences of even having that consistent income, that still instability. We moved a lot as a child. And so it was my goal to not put my family in a situation that moving so much was necessary. So we had to kind of learn how we each looked at money and valued money, because that definitely spoke on how we spent it, whether mindfully or not, if we just spent it carelessly. So we kind of had to really come to a point where we had to say, okay, it's time to get financially naked. And it's definitely not a term we coined. That's a term you will find being used a lot, but really just getting down to the nits and gritty of our financial situation. I'm a spender. I'll say it. And spending doesn't help save.
I'm with you, Christina.
Dre is a
Don't feel it.
saver, but savers can be boring. So... So, at some point we had to come.
Do we need that?
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Yeah.
At some point we had to come find a compromise at that. But we had to hit a brick wall before we could come to that. And during our engagement, and this is something we haven't, I don't think I've shared it with anyone, I don't know if you have, but during our engagement, we actually temporarily called it off for a little bit.
Wow.
I know.
Tell us about all that.
I didn't know that.
Tell us that.
Yeah, because I know for me, I just felt like we were going in different directions when it came to where we wanted to, how we looked at money, how we valued money, level of stability. I felt like he could just kind of go live in a one-bedroom apartment, do his art thing, and be as happy as he. So we just had to have some really deep discussions to talk about what it meant to us and what the future looked like for us, and me coming to a mindfulness of how to support him and his entrepreneurial spirit, but him also coming to understanding of how to keep me feeling secured.
Yeah.
in that type of stability, because like I said, that's something that I just wouldn't want to put my family through and wouldn't want us to have to go through. So during that time, that's when we kind of had to pause and reflect and talk and get help as well. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, it was just, like I said, it was one of those situations to where we were both responsible enough to kind of see how things were going and actually communicate and talk about it and work towards a solution, as opposed to just, her feeling how she feels or felt, me feeling how I felt, and just saying, you know what, well, what are we gonna do? So it was, I think that was big. We both worked towards a solution as opposed to just not a solution.
Awesome.
And still in process, as always.
Yeah.
I mean, trust, we don't have the answers today, and we're not in a perfect financial situation today. But I think we know how to better communicate with it, and we'll give you some activities that we do and to kind of help us as we continue to progress as a couple in this particular area and other areas as well.
Oh, wow.
Of course. But I think when it comes to talking about getting financially naked with your partner, it's really important to understand that not everyone has that same sense of money or values money like some others. Like I said, some people can say, hey, if I can pay the bill, that's good enough. As long as I'm happy doing what I'm doing, I'm okay. Some people are like, I want a little bit more. And, that's where we were on that. So money can symbolize so many different things to people. It can symbolize power, control, security, love. So you have to open up with your partner and figure out what does money symbolize to them and how do they look at it. And start there, because that will help you each better understand spending habits, how to assist each other with spending habits. I'm an emotional spender in a way, and I can sometimes when I get bored or if I'm feeling some kind of way, or like it just makes me happy.
Tell the truth, shame the devil.
But and it can get me in trouble as well when I look back. But then when I look back on it, I beat myself up too, because I'm like, Christina, really? Did you really need that, or did you really,
So buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Sometimes, although I do look at what I bought sometimes, I'm like, okay, I do like that. It's just probably, I'm spending money today when that I could be saving and maybe spend it on even something better tomorrow.
Gotcha.
But I'm just kind of, I don't know. I like to do what I like to do when I like to do it. And sometimes I get caught up in that. So, I do take that I'm a spender.
Well, yeah, and one piece, and I'll probably say it a few times, is just that communication, right? Like even if you're just dating and you're serious about someone and you could see the potential of it, going down the marriage road, even communicating while you're dating on what are your spending goals? How do you work with money? What are your goals and objectives as far as like career? Like where do you see yourself in X amount of years financially? Like those conversations I think are important to have at an early stage, so that way when you get to that marriage point, you can be able to talk about those things and be comfortable about it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's good. Yes, sir.
So we're going to dive into some ways of how to strip off your finances with your partner. Some activities to do, things to discuss up front. So like Dre just mentioned, discussing your financial state, your current financial state, and your financial goals. What type of debt are you in? How much debt are you in? It's important to know. So pulling each other's credit reports and looking over those. Some people don't know. I know people 30 years old and don't know their credit report, never pulled a financial report, don't know you get a free annual report from the government that you can access. So, and sometimes it's just fear. I don't want to know. I don't want to see, or, until they're ready to start making some bigger purchases. And then, that's when they start pulling and freaking out and things. But, you should be pulling that early on for yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, once you get into a serious relationship and start considering engagement, and, if you're already married, whatever, you need to start pulling that and looking at each other's. And I would do that regularly, because you just never know.
See, yeah, and those things like that, like, credit report, it's tough. Like, that's not a conversation that's just easy to jump into. But especially if you're
Because
dating.
having a 500 credit score is not sexy.
At all.
Yeah, and so in having those conversations early, it just makes it that much more comfortable. Because even like one thing when we were dating, and when you're dating, you almost feel like, well, I have my money, like
Right.
right now. Like,
I didn't
who
know.
am I to tell Christina how to spend her money? 'Cause
Right.
And I felt, who is he to tell me how to spend my money?
Right, yeah, and likewise, right?
Right.
So that's, having those conversations, it at least makes it, it gets it out in the open so that whenever you do get down that marriage road, you can just, it's just easier and more comfortable to talk about.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. So it's okay to get intimate with your money, with each other. Once you feel comfortable enough to share any and everything with that individual, you should start to feel comfortable enough as well to share, to have that financial discussion as
Because
well.
when you get married, and that's when you can say, now, hey now.
Because you're in it.
Come on.
Let's discuss this.
Come on.
And and then it could affect your goals. If your goal is to buy a house and your partner's credit is not in the best,
Come on.
and the amount of money you want to spend on a house, collectively, your income together could afford you a really beautiful house, but your credit report might say a different story.
Come on.
Yeah.
So that could really limit you and hinder your progression in working towards your goals if your goal is to have a home for your family. So definitely it's really important. We can't stress that enough. So starting there with having that deep financial discussion is important. And then we talked about it, talking about your goals. Your goals as a couple, your goals individually, how those goals may impact your finances, how your finances might impact your goals. Talk about that. If you have a spouse or if you are a person, like I said, with an entrepreneurial spirit, there might be some times where somebody has to step up a little bit and help out to allow that person to move forward with their goals and hopefully bring on a bigger blessing to the family through their endeavors. So, talking about that so you can be open. And I know, we knew it existed because I knew he was an artist. I saw his work day to day and I knew what was in his heart. We just never really sat down and said, how are we going to make this happen? Or how can I comfortably support you but still feel comfortable that we are going to be taken care of?
Right.
Right.
So.
And I said it before, and that's just that communication piece. Because there's a point where it's like, I know my goals and what I'm trying to achieve, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't communicate that, then that's when that turbulence happens.
Yeah, they can't read your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to what we talked about in a previous video. We talked about the security. So like you said, you want to support his goals, but how will you know that you both are taken care of?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the security aspect.
It is, yeah. And regularly coming together and having a state of our budget discussion. We have what we call the state of our union address, where we come together and talk about our relationship as a whole, and is there anything we need to take care of, but making sure that your budget, making sure your finances, everything like that. Are you working towards your goals? Has this something come in the way? Where are you and where are you going and how are you going to get there? And we'll talk about some activities that would help you get there. But, having that regular discussion is definitely important, I would say.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead to the activities part, but I'm just saying, but like in those discussions, they don't have to be stressful discussions.
Oh, gosh, no.
Like there's ways that you can make it so that it doesn't feel like a chore. And I'll just wait. We'll go with that during the activities.
I like what she said though, but with the state of the budget, because it's funny. My wife was taking notes, and that's just one of those things that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter like how long you've been married or the things that you think you know, or even the things that work for you. There's always something that can be different, or that can enhance, or you can do better.
Yeah.
So I mean, so as Dre and Christina are giving this information, we're listening and taking notes and stuff too, because there are things that they're telling us that we're like, man, we can incorporate that into what we do to help us do it better. Yeah.
Then also having that discussion of how will you respond to family and friends who have their hands out, who are coming to you for money? How will you assist them? Because I know sometimes you're like, that's my mama. When she asks me, I'm going to get her, whatever. But how is that affecting your home? How is that affecting your relationship?
It's all good.
So, kind of talking about that and how will you address those type of requests that come your way? And, is there, and this is jumping just a tad bit ahead of setting that budget of, is there a budget of, hey, if they're asking for this amount, then we need to have a discussion. Or if it's a minimal amount, then okay, it comes out of your budget, but sure, we can give it. So, but as people sometimes, families, friends, whomever, sometimes see you doing really well, and then they're like, oh, they're doing good. We can go check them out and borrow, blah blah blah.
Like we have bills just like y'all have bills.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, or they think you're doing better than you actually are.
Oh, right.
Right.
So, in dating, of course, we were a little, looser in that. But now that we've married, we definitely make sure to talk to each other and inform each other. Hey, mom called, dad called, whomever called, asked for such and such. Can we do it, or whatnot, and come to a collective decision. And if you can't, extend that discussion a little bit more as you can, or sometimes agree to disagree, but be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
For what may come after that. And then another thing is, don't be afraid to get professional help. So there are a lot of, we go to what we call a financial gym, and we have a financial coach, but there are a lot of businesses, individuals that are certified to help, that are popping up and that are out there who actually will sit down with you regularly and go over your budget. So it's completely different than like going through like an Edward Jones or something like that, talking about retirement and things like that. But these are actually specialists that come, and they get financially naked with you, and then they help you through the process of setting goals and working toward those goals and doing that. So just like with counseling supports or anything like that, don't be afraid. If between the two of you both are just not financially savvy or feel like we're going to keep messing up, have another person that can help you be accountable for your spending. And, like I said, help you through that process. We do it. We love it. We meet with our coach, we used to meet every paycheck, and now I think we're down to once a month.
Yeah, once a month.
That we meet, and then we have quarterly sessions, and and since then, I will say we have definitely saved a lot of money. We have savings accounts open for different things, and have been able to really put some savings aside that we just wasn't doing before.
Wow. And the good thing with that is, just like any good counselor, what that does is that takes both of you out of the equation, and you can look at it through the lens of someone else, because they're coming into it with an unbiased opinion. It's this is the way to do it. This is how I'm going to help you, as opposed to I feel this way about it, or Christina feels a certain way about it. They can kind of come in and mediate that and say, I hear the both of you, but let's try it like this.
Okay.
So that way, it helps you really get to the results that you want to get to as a couple from a financial standpoint. It's
Awesome.
really helpful.
That's good.
And they get in it. They know what you make, and they take what you make, and they say, all right, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. This can go to you guys doing whatever. So, so I'm just saying, I know sometimes we steer away from that, of trying to get that outside help, but sometimes it's a really good thing, and it's a very helpful thing to look into.
One other piece to that point that I made, just as an example. So if there's something that, you know, Christina wants, and in our discussions, I may be like, hey, I don't think we really need that right now, but she really wants it. That financial advisor person can kind of look at it from their perspective and either, you know, take my side and say, hey, you do have this, you know, loose capital to be able to do what, or you don't have the amount, and, you know, you probably should wait, or they can, you know, take Christina's side and just kind of, you know, look at it and say, well, you have this amount here, it's not so bad if you guys go ahead and do it. So that helps a lot too, because I know, you know, myself and Christina, we approach it sometimes from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, we don't need to buy that because.
Yes, we do.
Right. Because, you know, like,
Come on it.
because I look at it from the standpoint of, listen, we are trying to save to get to a point. So I look at everything as an expense coming out, where, you know, it may not necessarily be that case, right? We have it, but I'm emotional because I'm trying to get to a certain point. But, you know,
We're just trying to have fun. Look, it's a
Right.
concert. Let's go. We got this.
And so having that middle person, you know, is really helpful to be able to, you know, weed through all of that and help each of us see it from a different
I like that. A
Yeah.
financial gym and a financial coach.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
So, I'm going to give you some additional exercises that you can do. One, of course, is set an amount that you cannot go above before talking to your spouse. So if you say, okay, I can't spend more than $50 without coming to consult with you first on something, or $100
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah, setting that that limit, and so, just so you know, you don't feel completely, you know, strained in your spendings, but know when, okay, we need, this is a bigger purchase, we need to have that discussion. And sometimes over time, as you increase your revenue, you can then increase that amount. You might be a little more comfortable saying, all right, we can spend $150, you know, or something of that nature. Talk about how you want to handle your accounts. So I know, like, you know, coming in, we had separate accounts, and we would take from those separate accounts and then put into a joint account, and then, you know, but we were taking like so much from our income and doing that. But we found it more helpful to have one joint account. Our primary income went into that. We both have some other jobs that we do on the side, but our primary income went into that account. That's where that account is our budget account. Everything else was kind of handling his artwork, his art business, and then my business, businesses as well. But with that account, we found, and I mean, I don't know how we didn't figure this out earlier, but it was kind of like more helpful. We actually had more money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Where instead of, you know, trying to put in a little here, he'll put in a little, and then we use that to cover bills, and then we go off and use our own money to do things. We just found it, you know, much more helpful. But you do what works best for your situation.
Right.
When it comes to how you want to set up those accounts. Set up saving accounts for goals. So we're not from here, so we travel home, try to travel home at least twice a year and stuff. So it was important that we have a traveling account. We also want to take other trips outside of just going home. So, you know, it was important we had an account for that. You know, of course, an emergency account, you want to have that. So, you know, whatever your goals, if it's buying a new house, if it's buying a car, saving up, you know, set up those high yield savings accounts. And you want a high yield savings account because it's going to accrue more interest. So your high yield savings account might be like American Express has a personal savings account where you could get like 1.9% interest on that. You have Ally, so it's a lot of online type of banks that you might want to look into that you would have. It is a little more difficult to access that money. Although you can access it without any fees, it's just going to take a little bit while to transfer from your account to your checking account. So that'll make you think a little bit before you start moving money. And it'll help you have that money somewhere where you don't always see it, but it's there for you and there's been a need. And then giving each other an allowance. And let your partner manage his or her money. So, you know, Dre and I, we have an allowance of $100 each a week. That after food and everything else, that's our allowance to do what we want to do. If we want to go to the movies, if he want to go get his hair cut, whatever, he takes his $100 and he uses it.
So that's all in the allowance.
It's in the allowance, right?
So if you choose to do lunch or?
Man,
Yeah.
your allowance
So-
would be too high.
So we have our,
It's like a bucket amount that
Okay.
we have for the month, and then that's just broken down throughout like the week.
right.
So we
Okay.
split that up. So I get mine, she gets her. Which when I found that it took me, I had to get used to it because I'm not used to carrying cash. But that first, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I really started to get the hang of it. Like I actually have cash left over. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Yeah, I'm kind of running out.
Hey, my brain was like, stop, bro, stop, I'm out.
But yeah, so
That's why I was asking, because you mentioned his haircut. So whatever the allowance is, that's what he has to do his haircuts. If he chooses to do lunch at work, I know the little bakery you like to go to. So all of that is a part of your allowance.
right, if he does it on his own,
Yeah.
I mean, food is covered. So we have bills and food for the house, or if we go out to eat, we have a budget for that.
Okay.
That's separate. The $100 we get each is for us.
Okay.
If I want to go buy an outfit that week with that 100, I can go do that.
Okay.
I just have to remember once that 100 is gone,
Then that's it.
I need to go call Dre
No.
and borrow.
And then, but right, it's yours. So don't feel like you have to give up your allowance
Yeah.
because your wife spent hers.
Right.
It's yours. You own it. Don't give it up.
I will say I've done well. I have not been in Dre's pocket on his allowance, so he's been able. I don't know what he has, but I'm glad to hear that you have a little extra.
He done told on himself.
So so doing that, I think that's been helpful. And then scheduling no spend days. Like, have fun with it. Be like, okay, on this Wednesday, we're not going to spend any money. We're just going to, whatever's at the house, pack your lunch, da-da-da. Try to do that and even make a game out of who can come out and not spend anything. Dre would probably win. But, scheduling those type of days where you just might have no spend days, cash only days. And then reward each other when you meet those goals. Try to, have a celebration or something if you were able to go whatever type of game you set up to play when it comes to how can I save money.
Okay.
So doing something like that. So every now and then we might say, all right, we're not spending any money on, other than our necessities on whatever day or however many times a month or whatever. And I mean, you'll find at the end that you actually really saved some. You're like, oh wow, yeah, maybe I didn't need to, get my nails done this week or go do whatever. So that's her $100. She can do whatever she wants. But just kind of setting those type, just having fun, like Dre said before. It doesn't have to be, always be a serious, sad discussion. Make it fun,
Yeah.
And-
And that was, sorry to cut you off, but yeah, because that was one of the like activity things that I was going to mention earlier. Like, have I just made this up, just tonight, but a financial honeymoon. Maybe you guys plan a trip or like a night staycation somewhere, and you have the plan is to have that conversation, but you do it and set the mood so that it's not. What's the word? It's not an intimidating conversation. So everyone goes into it loose, and you can really get down to what it is that you want to talk about.
Which leads me to the next one. Splurge a little on date nights and things. So we go into this and we're trying to save, and you're trying to cut back on things, and you're really watching every how you're spending your money and everything like that. But then, like I said, sometimes saving can be boring. So how can we get out and have fun every now and then?
Go ahead and supersize that value meal.
No, not what I'm talking about when I mean splurge.
That's splurging, right?
Splurge, get the large.
But even if you have a once a month goal or quarterly, it could be every 3 months. Depending on what your definition of splurging is, and how much that means to spend. Doing something where you just really feel connected, but having a good time and putting some effort into it, not just Netflixing and chilling or, something like that, but really putting some effort into an activity and alternate, the decisions on those type of date nights. Don't let the guy be the one always planning it, or the female being the one always planning it, but alternate it, so that way you can enjoy doing what each other enjoys, and you don't always feel like you're the one leading the way, or they don't always feel like you're, the one leading the way. So scheduling, having those scheduled in your plans as well, and setting goals for that to splurge a little is important. So right now, those are the activities that and exercises that we have that you could do. Do you have anything that I might have missed, or anybody on that?
No, I think that covers it pretty well. I mean, said it once, twice, 3 times. I'll say it again. Just communicate.
Communicate.
Yeah.
So I have a last quote that I found that Chuck Bentley, who's CEO of Crown Financial Ministries, he says that God has special purposes for every couple to bring joy to the husband and wife, and to create a team that can achieve more together than the individuals could accomplish on their own. Think of your goals as larger than your purchases, and get free from debt so you can be available for any adventure God brings your way. So it's very important as you continue to look at your financial future.
Amen. All right. All right. Well, Andre and Christina, we definitely appreciate you coming in and sharing
Thank you.
how to get financially naked with your spouse. Awesome information.
Sure.
Gonna ask you to put those activities in the comment section, and that quote as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love the quote
Love
as
that
well.
quote.
So
Will do. Thank you all.
I was gonna say too. I forgot to mention it before, but I was gonna say it's too late now. But whoever the first one is to comment on my cowboy hat was gonna get blocked.
well, no one said anything about the cowboy hat.
I'll say.
However, we mentioned a couple times about Dre being an artist and an outstanding gifted artist. So, Andre, we're going to ask you to drop your IG name. It's I am Junius. So, if you'll drop that in the comment section as well. We have worn T-shirts in our marriage talk session. We have worn the T-shirts when he did a canvas to cotton campaign. So drop your information in the comment section as well, so those who want to follow you on Facebook or Instagram can do so. Christina is a fitness instructor as well, and if you want to join her, she'll kill you.
Kill you while you're still breathing.
Yeah.
But again, we thank you so much. Great information. Again, they've only been married a little over a year, but this is great information. It doesn't matter how long you've been married or if you're engaged, dating, just a great way for you to get financially naked with your partner.
It sure was. I mean, great stuff all the way around. And again, it just goes to show it doesn't matter the time frame, how long you've been married, because Nay and I were sitting here taking monster notes. We've got some of this information, and we're definitely going to incorporate it into what we do, because I'm kind of with Christina. But hey, I say this. I had an aunt tell me one time, and it's kind of how I've lived my life. I'm going to save some for a rainy day. But you can bet I'm going to spend most of it.
He telling the truth.
I'm going to spend most of it. I'm going to save some for a rainy day. But this has been great. We're so honored and thankful for you guys coming to hang out with us tonight and share this information. I know that it's blessed us, so I know it's going to bless some other people out there watching. Family, we thank y'all. We thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for this session. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Good night, family.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.